Greetings and welcome to another edition of Sports and Stuff. Listen, you saw the thumbnail. It's a time for Alabama to move on from the Southeastern Conference. That's a crazy thought. I know that's a crazy thought. And I don't know if it's ever even anything that's considered within the University of Alabama system. But everyone, things have changed. We're at a completely different landscape now in college football. I saw today where the president did an executive order changing how many times a student could transfer. And that's good. That will be helpful if it stands. I don't know how that even works in the legal system, but it's interesting to me. Now, that will fix some of the chaos maybe, but it doesn't fix the money problem. And it's becoming clear that Alabama is getting outspent on players in the Southeastern Conference by the elite teams in the Southeastern Conference. Some of them are not even elite teams, like Ole Miss is outspending Alabama. Auburn outspent Alabama in basketball this past year. So what's the answer? I'm not sure, but I think you have to step back and take a look at your revenue streams and be a little creative and think outside the box on this. And I think being a member of the Southeastern Conference is one of those things you need to look at. Now, the thing with the Southeastern Conference, in the old days, it has served its purpose, no doubt. And all things being like it was in the old days, there would be no problem with the current system of the Southeastern Conference where you share the revenue from your bowl games, your playoff visits and championship visits. You share that revenue. But when you're struggling to keep up with the elite teams and you're having to share money and you're the number one brand in the Southeastern Conference, the one that's won the most national championships in the conference, the one that's won the most Southeastern Conference championships, the one that's won the most bowl championships, the number one viewed team on ESPN this past year, and I think the year previous. I mean, you have to look at that, especially in light of Notre Dame negotiating their way into the playoffs despite not being in a conference. I think the pressure was on them for a minute, and I think they were contemplating joining a conference. But this landscape change, I believe, has caused them to reevaluate. And now I don't think they're as eager to join a conference in football as they were because they don't have to share their revenue. They get all the revenue from their brand. Is it time for Alabama to think about the same thing? I think it might be. I don't know all the business aspects of this and all the ins and outs, but I'm willing to bet that the University of Alabama is at least thinking about it. You have to. You have to. We're in a different time. And again, you may limit the times a student athlete transfers, but you're not going to be able to limit the amount of money they can make. That cat is out of the bag. It's not going back. And I'm not saying it should, but I don't think it is, even if I wanted it to. So you got to think about the revenue streams. And again, how much sense does it make to be the number one brand in the Southeastern Conference, and yet you're not spending as much as other teams in the Southeastern Conference on building your rosters? Now, this hasn't completely shown up in the competitive arena yet. Alabama's still recruiting out of high school very well. But it did show up when they played Indiana this past year in the playoffs because Indiana had a veteran team made up of a lot of transfer, a lot of portal transfer students that were older, had a lot more experience than our players. So, and then again, this past year, you know, I can't really argue the portal. I know there are some young players that left that I didn't want to leave. Keon Keeley being one of them. He was going to be an explosive player on our front, and we lost him. We lost him to money. So you have to look at that. You have to look at that. This year will be very telling. If Alabama takes a step back competitively in football or basketball, basketball is a little bit different animal, but in football, if they take a step back competitively, I'm willing to bet they're really going to ponder this, because if Alabama was able to keep all of their revenue, which would be a large amount, and I'm not saying it's not the best thing for other schools as well, but certainly in Alabama's case, it might be. And if they're able to keep that revenue, they could creatively um, find ways to use that money uh, in their for their player pool, for their collectives. There's ways to do that that would be completely legal. So, Greg Byrne, if you're listening, you don't need my advice for sure. But for the fans, I think it might be time to start preparing yourself for the day the University of Alabama is not in the Southeastern Conference. Make sure you like, share this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Please make comments and we'll engage in the comments. Love to hear your thoughts about this topic today. And then as a reminder, go ahead and subscribe and share it with others to subscribe. In the fall, I will have a co-host, and every Saturday night we will have a show where we discuss the games that day, and I think it'll be really entertaining. So again, make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel. All right, see you next time.